Before we start, the name is at the top of the screen. The story begins with the protagonist lying in a hospital bed, lost in her thoughts as she quietly wonders what she would do if she were given the chance to be reincarnated. Fully aware of her fragile condition, she imagines herself living in a healthy body, free from pain and limitations, where she could finally enjoy eating all of her favorite foods without worry. Her thoughts drift further into gentle fantasies of wearing a beautiful, elegant dress like a princess, standing under soft lights and feeling admired and cherished. She also dreams of experiencing a perfect romance, one filled with warmth and devotion, much like the fairy tale stories she has read, where a kind and handsome prince loves her wholeheartedly. She understands deep down that if she were ever granted a life like this, one so full of comfort, beauty, and affection, she would truly be happy. In the novel, Julianne announces her presence and immediately asks the maids where Prince Alfred, the crown prince, is, only to be met with vague answers that ignite her anger. Clenching her fist, she sharply questions what they mean and whether it implies that the crown prince refuses to meet her again, at which point the butler explains that due to unexpected circumstances, His Highness is required to focus on his official duties. Julianne snaps back that she has heard the same excuse for half a year and demands to know what the royal family is thinking, growing increasingly irritated as she accuses the royal palace of neglecting her despite her status as Prince Alfred's fiancée. She reminds them that it was her family's generous donations that allowed the country to continue functioning, questioning whether they have forgotten who offered to save the royal family during their crisis, and adding that even today her father entrusted her with discussing next year's donation. The butler apologizes deeply and insists that the crown prince must prioritize an overwhelming number of responsibilities, which leaves Julianne stunned and even angrier, forcing the maids to restrain her as she demands to know what he just said. She argues that aside from money, there should be nothing more important than her, unable to accept that Prince Alfred has avoided meeting her for half a year and desperately asking to see him even once, only for a maid to gently claim that His Highness must also be suffering from their separation. Though Julianne agrees outwardly, she feels deeply humiliated and decides to return home, where she is welcomed by her maids and bitterly reflects on how money can control people and even buy happiness, yet wonders why Prince Alfred alone has remained unchanged since their engagement 10 years ago, when he openly told her that he did not need wealth or luxury. Lost in sadness, she is interrupted by the sudden appearance of a man who immediately notices her expression and casually remarks that she failed to meet her fiancé again, smirking as he calls her elder sister, revealing himself as her adoptive younger brother, Kyle. He mockingly points out the absurd amount of money she spent just to dress up, while Julianne stares at him in irritation, wondering why he looks so dazzling without even wearing makeup, taking note of his light gold curly hair and sparkling violet eyes that always get on her nerves. Annoyed, she snaps at him to shut up and reminds him that as an adopted child, he is in no position to speak to her so casually, only for Kyle to casually ask if she has heard the rumor that Prince Alfred intends to break off their engagement, prompting Julianne to angrily question what nonsense he is spouting. Kyle then adds that a famous man known for prioritizing work above all else has been asking around about what kind of gift would make a young lady happy, leaving her shaken by the implications of his words. Julianne remembers that on her own birthday, all she received from Prince Alfred was a simple bouquet of flowers accompanied by a short and impersonal card, which leaves her heart heavy as she begins to wonder who in the world he could possibly be putting such effort in for now. Before she can dwell too deeply on the thought, Kyle calmly tells her that the woman he was referring to appears to be Lady Amalia of the Duke's house, deliberately reminding Julianne that Amalia is known for being graceful, well-educated, and admired by high society, traits that make her the complete opposite of Julianne in every way. His words strike a nerve, and in a burst of rage, Julianne grabs a nearby vase and throws it at Kyle while shouting for him to shut up. The sudden noise draws attention, and Julianne turns around to find her younger sister Sasha standing there, who immediately apologizes and explains that she was merely passing by and did not intend to intrude. Kyle casually runs his hands through his wet hair and remarks that if the other woman were Sasha, then the prince would never be accused of cheating, further provoking Julianne by pointing out that even though Julianne and Sasha are related by blood, they look nothing alike at all. Julianne's anger shifts towards Sasha as she harshly questions why she dared to show her poor-looking face here, scolding her and ordering her not to stand beside her with such an appearance, while Sasha quietly bows her head and apologizes again. Inside her mind, Julianne convinces herself that even if her rival is a beautiful woman, it does not matter in the end, because she possesses money, and money has always been her greatest weapon. She sharply reminds Kyle that she is indispensable to the royal family and demands that he simply look at the grandeur of this house as proof of her importance, only for Kyle to step closer and warn her that such resources are not guaranteed to last forever. His words leave her deeply shaken as he mentions her father, her mother, and even Julianne herself enjoying luxury while the heavily taxed population still waits for what they were promised, adding that if she is not careful, the rumored massacre of the Jasser family could truly come to pass and that her head could be taken while she sleeps. Fear and disbelief wash over her as she pushes him away and angrily asks if he truly expects her to believe such nonsense, yet in her agitation she slips on wastewater and collapses onto the ground. Lying there in humiliation and shock, Julianne is forced to face the painful realization that money is the only thing she truly has, and she bitterly wonders why everything about her, even her own heart, feels so painfully and irredeemably ugly. That is when she suddenly finds herself in a completely different body, opening her eyes to see that she is lying in a hospital bed while a sumo wrestling match plays on the television, leaving her confused as she wonders why she is watching sumo wrestling in a hospital room at all. She does not even understand what sumo wrestling is, yet somehow the knowledge feels familiar, which makes her question why she knows these things despite never having seen them before. Bored and restless, she tries to move, only to realize that her mouth is speaking on its own and her arms are thin and weak, so different from what she expects, and it is then that recognition slowly sinks in. She knows this place, and more than that, she knows this girl, a girl with no remaining relatives who lost her parents in an accident during middle school, who has lived with an incurable disease and spent most of her life hospitalized with no hope of recovery. She understands that this year the girl is 18 and will likely die soon, and the memories overwhelm her as she recalls wishing to be reincarnated, wishing only to be happy like the princes in novels, to wear gorgeous dresses, become engaged to a prince, live in a healthy body, eat all her favorite foods, grow strong like a sumo wrestler, become rich, and enjoy a full life of luxury. At that moment, she realizes that this is her past life, her previous existence, and she tries to reassure that lonely girl that everything will be fine, that she will be reincarnated as a rich marquis' daughter and finally find happiness. She hears the girl say that she is lonely, and she knows that is true, because this girl never desired money or luxury, only someone who could stay beside her, love her, and make her feel cherished. In contrast, being born as a rich marquis' daughter allowed Julianne to easily obtain food and beautiful clothes, yet no matter how much she ate or how extravagantly she dressed, she was never satisfied because she was always alone. When Julianne opens her eyes once more, she finds herself back in her noble body, surrounded by her parents who are relieved that she has regained consciousness, confirming that the protagonist has been reincarnated into Julianne herself. She sees her mother crying and insisting that she tell them what Kyle did to her, while her father grabs Kyle by the collar and declares that he will punish this fool as he always does. Looking around, Julianne sees her reliable younger brother who worries about the future of the house and her splendidly beautiful younger sister Sasha, and for the first time she realizes that in this life, she has a family. She stops her father and calmly says that Kyle did nothing wrong, which confuses him, as he initially believes Kyle must have misbehaved, only to be stunned when Julianne explains that she slipped on her own after tipping over the vase she used to throw water at Kyle and that the fault lies with her. Her father is left speechless, her mother shocked by this unthinkable display of humility from a daughter she does not remember raising that way, and her father hurriedly tells Kyle to call for a doctor. Julianne refuses, saying she will rest in her room, then walks inside and shuts the door, leaving everyone utterly stunned. Alone, she realizes she is inside a fantasy novel and not just anyone, but the villainess herself, someone blessed with family, health, and wealth, sent into a bountiful life. She remembers convincing her parents 10 years ago that Prince Alfred would be a good future husband, even though the truth is that her younger sister was originally meant to be his fiancée, and that the royal palace had chosen Sasha before Julianne grew furious over her desire to become empress. In their panic, her parents brought 7-year-old Kyle from a branch family to act as successor instead of her, and because both Kyle and Sasha were beautiful and admired, Julianne let her jealousy consume her and regularly bullied them, making their lives miserable even though she now feels remorse she could not express back then. Remembering Kyle's warning about the possible massacre of her family and her own death, she understands that if things continue like this, her entire household will be condemned, especially with rumors spreading that Prince Alfred intends to break off their engagement. She knows that if the engagement is annulled, her family will be banished from the royal palace, and if a coup d'état occurs, they may all be killed, something she cannot allow to happen. Sasha and Kyle are innocent, and although her parents exploited others to live in luxury, they genuinely love her, and she knows that losing them would leave her alone once again. Accepting this truth, she decides that if she is truly destined for ruin like the villainesses in the novels she once read, then she will face it head-on, even if she alone must suffer the consequences, as long as her family can live on safely and happily. With that resolve, she writes in her notebook a plan to act before disaster strikes, vowing to let Kyle and Sasha escape, protect her parents' lives, and do everything in her power to ensure her family survives. She understands that she must also prepare the household finances so that by the time Kyle officially takes over as the new Marquis, the position of Prince Alfred's fiancé can be rightfully returned to Sasha, restoring what should have been from the beginning. Julianne knows that once Kyle inherits the house, both she and her parents will step away from power and live a far more modest life, relying on careful planning and fundraising to support themselves without exploiting others. She is fully aware that this is an extremely difficult mission, one that will require patience, discipline, and sacrifice, yet she firmly believes that she can truly accomplish it if she commits herself. While she is deep in thought, someone suddenly bangs on her door, and when she opens it, she finds Kyle standing there, questioning what she meant earlier about standing up for him and suspiciously asking what kind of scheme she is plotting this time. Looking at his wary expression, Julianne realizes that apologizing outright would only make him more suspicious, so instead she abruptly places a cloth over his head, causing him to protest and ask what she is trying to do. She calmly tells him to wait for her in his room and explains that he has always been quick to catch a cold, just like before, so she plans to make something warm for him, specifically black tea, the special kind she used to prepare when she was hospitalized. Kyle is left confused, pointing out that he does not remember her ever being hospitalized, but Julianne understands that she must prove her sincerity through actions rather than words. She prepares the tea with care, feeling a quiet sense of happiness as she does so, and serves him a decaffeinated herbal blend mixed with honey and marmalade. Kyle eyes the cup suspiciously and bluntly asks if it is poison, prompting Julianne to firmly deny it and insist that he drink it, even declaring that she will not leave until he does. He grumbles that she is being troublesome and wonders if this is some kind of practice for flattering her fiancé, yet he eventually takes a sip and is surprised to find it genuinely delicious. Julianne feels relieved and quietly resolves to do her very best in everything she can from now on, but Kyle notices her expression and remarks on the satisfied look he has never seen on her face before, immediately adding that it must still be poisoned. She flinches and snaps back that she already told him it is not, and with that moment, the long and difficult reformation of the former sleazy villainess finally begins. People are shouting at her family, running toward them with weapons and yelling for them to stop, protesting loudly against the heavy taxes and accusing Julianne's wealthy family of cheating everyone. The chaos grows, and Kyle steps forward, looking serious and furious. He says he cannot stand it anymore and that instead of giving in to these people, he will take revenge right now. Julianne quickly steps in, telling him to calm down and warning that if he acts rashly, he will become a criminal too. Kyle ignores her and points a knife at her, calling her an ugly, greedy woman. He shouts that she ruined his life and says it serves her right. Julianne gasps in shock and then suddenly opens her eyes. She realizes it was only a dream. She looks out the window and sees that it is already morning. She wonders when she fell asleep without noticing. Kyle's warning about the people of the territory comes back to her, reminding her that a coup d'état could happen. A shiver runs through her because she feels the day from her dream is getting closer. She knows that Kyle still has a future, and she cannot risk his life for her own mistakes. She decides her first priority is to prevent the coup and stop Kyle from acting out in revenge. Just then, Kyle walks into her room. He glares at her and asks what she is doing in his office, saying that women are not supposed to be here. Julianne feels relief that he is not carrying a knife, still scared from her dream, and tells him she was checking the account books. Kyle teases her, asking if she is worried about losing her luxurious life and calling her as greedy as ever. Julianne flinches, angry at his words. She thinks about explaining why she is doing all this but quickly realizes she cannot tell him everything. She reminds herself that she decided yesterday to change for the better and focus on protecting her family. Her mind feels pulled in two directions. One part tells her to blame Kyle to make things easier, but the other part tells her to atone for her sins and apologize. She clutches her head, confused. Kyle notices and asks if her head still hurts from yesterday. Julianne takes a deep breath, calms herself, and smiles. She tells him it is nothing and asks him not to get angry anymore. Then she gives him a memo about the territory's deficit policy, asking if it was his idea. He is caught off guard when she praises it, and she realizes he truly cares about the people. She notices that Kyle has a logical plan, and for a moment, he blushes. He questions if a woman can even understand such reports. Julianne calmly explains that she hired top instructors, the best people who teach princes, so she can understand this information perfectly. She asks why this policy was not implemented, and Kyle glares at her, then slams his fist on the table and explains that their father rejected it. Their father insists on increasing donations to the royal family for Julianne's sake, rather than investing in the territory. Julianne is shocked and leaves the office after Kyle pushes her out and shuts the door. She walks slowly, thinking that she is the cause of many problems. She realizes the deficit is larger than she imagined and that her family's luxurious lifestyle made it worse. She cannot stop the donation to the royal family, so she must return the role of Prince Alfred's fiancée to Sasha before another noble interferes. She also needs to earn money in a new way. Julianne goes to her wardrobe and pulls out all her dresses, thinking about how many houses she could build if she sold them. She decides to start simply, by organizing everything carefully and prioritizing high-demand accessories to sell first. Her parents enter and ask what she is doing. She explains that she is organizing her closet herself. Her mother asks why she did not call a servant, saying she has been acting strange since yesterday. Her father suggests calling the best doctor in the country. Julianne refuses politely, saying she will not let her family spend more than necessary. She awkwardly mentions she has a low thirst, confusing them both, and quickly corrects herself, explaining that she is starting a diet and working toward a healthy life. She wants to organize unnecessary items and make things beautiful from the inside out, following a trend popular in other countries. Her mother is inspired and decides to organize her own closet. Julianne explains she plans to sell the dresses she does not need. Her father smiles and says that if this makes her happy and healthy, they will all join in and drink the best sake together. Julianne thinks about her father's early morning work and politely refuses, warning him that drinking too much expensive alcohol can cause hair loss, and joking that cheap red wine actually helps hair grow. Her father looks confused and slightly annoyed as he is already bald. Meanwhile, Kyle passes by and sees his mother stepping out of Juliana's room, followed by his father opening the door and telling the attendant to get him the cheapest red wine, saying it is all he can drink. Kyle wonders to himself that now Juliana is pretending to save money after all this time, finding it nonsense. Later, Juliana is in the garden, wondering which wild plants are edible from their garden. She thinks that both her parents and she need to get used to cost-effective food little by little because she doubts they can continue living in luxury. Nevertheless, she wonders if it is too difficult for amateurs like her to identify edible plants. She wants to do things by herself and be independent. She has a wild plants picture book in her hand and looks around it carefully. She calls out to the staff, asking if anyone knows anything about wild plants, then quickly tells them to forget it, saying it is nothing, and she knows she deserves that after all. Then she notices two people standing under a tree, a servant couple. The man tells her he loves her today too, and she responds that she feels the same. The man is Jack, who says he will see her again after work, and the girl is a new mate, Liz. Jack notices Juliana and kneels on the ground, apologizing for slacking off during work hours and saying he is deeply sorry. Juliana realizes she unconsciously glared at the couple out of old habit. Liz smiles and apologizes too. Jack says that if he angers Lady Juliana, he could be fired, and he apologizes again, explaining that Liz is a new mate and did not understand, and that he only talked to her earlier, so Juliana should scold him instead. Juliana is taken aback, realizing that even though Jack could have been fired, Liz must be more important to him than money. She remembers how she always thought she could move people with money, but now, as Kyle said, she realizes she deserves it when Prince Alfred abandons her. She smiles, telling them it is okay, knowing she can only laugh at herself, and she wishes them both happiness. Liz notices Juliana's basket and takes it from her, asking if she is looking for wild plants. They start helping her search for them. Juliana notices a mushroom, and Liz tells her it is edible. Juliana finds it amazing that Liz knows so much. Liz explains that when her parents died, she had to depend on herself for food, so she became confident in knowing which plants are edible and delicious. Juliana thinks that since she also lost her parents in her previous life, Liz must have had a hard time too, and she thanks both Liz and Jack. Jack says he is confident in his physical strength and asks her to order him to do anything. Juliana ponders that this may be the first time she has ever thanked a servant. Liz then points out a kitchen garden nearby, and Juliana asks where it is, feeling a ticklish sensation. They hide under a bush and watch the head chef. Juliana asks who the big man is, thinking he looks terrifying, and they tell her he is the head chef, Bird. The head chef hears them, glares, and demands to know who is there, asking if it is the person who broke into his garden, threatening to turn them into roast pork. Juliana feels scared but stands up and announces that she is Juliana, which catches him off guard. He then asks if she is the young lady and begins to ask for forgiveness. He begs Juliana not to tell anyone that his heart is just like a girl's. Juliana wonders if this is what people call gapmo. She reassures him that she will not tell anyone. He asks her if she truly will not, and then questions what would happen if she fires him. She responds that she won't and says that she also understands what it feels like to constantly worry about how others see you. In her case, she tried to show off and be strong, but she ended up hurting people around her. Juliana thinks about her own ego, realizing that both inside and outside, she does not fully meet her own ideals. Still, she wants to change little by little, and this is not a threat or an order, just a request. She turns to Liz, Jack, and Bert, asking if they would like to cooperate with her plan. She explains what she can for now, knowing she cannot tell them everything yet. Jack says that she can leave the heavy work to him, Liz says she can handle any housework task, and Bert says that he is surprised that the young lady is actually very friendly and that it sounds interesting, so he wants to help too. Juliana smiles and thanks them, realizing that she has made friends. Meanwhile, Kyle looks at the food and asks if they are not having too much salad today, raising his eyebrows in mild disbelief. Juliana decides to apply honey directly to the back of her head, mixing it with baking soda to make a homemade shampoo. After taking a bath, she plans to drink a diet herbal tea made from wild grass. She feels really happy, knowing that even if it is not the usual luxury, she can still feel satisfied. The tea is very delicious, and she thanks the chef. He responds that it is alright, acting tough, and she tells him that he does not need to be so careful around her. That is when he realizes and asks if it would be alright to serve this tea to her father and mother as well. She tells him that she wants the food to be healthier and cheaper this time, but he should not let her parents know because they are both very prideful. He smirks and says he understands, asking if this is also part of her plan. She confirms that it is right, explaining that this is her house-saving plan and that she wants to start it now. She knows these are not the words anyone would expect from a marquis. She recruits Liz, Jack, and the head chef, Bert, to help her. They talk secretly about the family's lack of funds, and she asks them to cooperate with her. She calls out to Liz and Jack to see if they are ready. Jack raises his hand, and she asks where Liz is. Liz says that she is having a drink and asks them to wait for her. Jack tries to tell Liz that he is not feeling well and that they should do this seriously since he wants to work with her. Juliana notes that they are the only ones brave enough to flirt in her room and thinks that they should get straight to the point. She wonders if they are too familiar with the town and questions if there is a place to sell these items without the risk of getting caught. She shows her dresses, and Jack is completely taken aback, surprised by how many she has and what she plans to do. Jack suggests that it might be fine to go to the Blue Sky Market held every week by the Agriculture Union, but he notes that this dress stands out quite a bit. Juliana wonders what she should do about it. Liz gulps and suggests tearing the dress apart and remaking it, which Juliana thinks is an excellent idea. They are both surprised by the number of dresses she has. Juliana is confident that this plan will work because sewing was her specialty in her previous life. She begins working on the dress while Liz comments that she has never seen a design like this and that it looks really good. Juliana thanks Liz, saying that she is polite, quick, and helpful, and Liz smiles, promising to do her best. Juliana feels a nostalgic sense of peace as she sits on the bed, sewing stage by stage at her own pace without competing with anyone, doing it because she wants the people who receive the dresses to be happy. She thinks about how there are so many things she can do now, but she always returns to sewing. In her previous life, she learned to sew entirely by herself. She realizes that being reborn into a world of games or novels she liked allows her to make use of memories from her previous life, but this is a different world, and she wonders if she can apply her previous knowledge, for example in territorial policies that could be implemented quickly. She briefly considers starting a business but decides against it because she needs to understand the current state of the territory first and cannot trust her father, who has not even visited it recently. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door. It is Jack, asking her to open the window. Juliana is surprised and asks why he is at the window, realizing it is the third floor, but he reassures her that it is fine. He explains that he carried the dress toward the storeroom and on the way met Sir Kyle in the hallway, who looked suspicious, so he immediately came to warn her. Juliana thinks that coming through the window is even more suspicious. She decides that it would be best if she could consult Kyle about the territorial policies since he inspects the territory seriously as a landlord. She knows the problem is whether he will listen to her. She goes to him, and he asks if she wants to start a business. She tells him yes, explaining that she tried to make some documents but is unsure if they will work. He questions why she comes to him and says that since she is just a girl, she does not need to worry about territorial management. Juliana remembers that he has used the phrase, just a girl, since she was young. She thinks that because she used to envy Kyle's beauty and often teased him as, just an adopted child, she deliberately chose unreasonable words to hurt him in the past. He steps closer and asks if she really needs to do this, why she does not ask their father instead. Kyle tells Juliana that their father will always listen to whatever she says, even if he ignored his request to increase the number of hospitals in his territory. He says that it would be pointless for him to help her because if he does, no one will recognize it. As he begins to pass by, Juliana grabs his arm and insists that it has to be him. She explains that she did not know anything until he told her and that she has no knowledge regarding Alfred or his territory. She thinks about the potential downfall of their family and feels that even though it may be too late, she still has to do something to prevent it. She knows she cannot let the family fail, and besides, she admires how well Kyle manages his territory, so she asks him to please help her. He starts to giggle, and she is taken aback as he says it is totally strange for the proud stepsister to ask so politely and wonders if the world is ending. She notices that this is how Kyle looks when he smiles naturally. He tells her that since he is in a good mood, he will help her. She asks if he really means it and shows him the document. He looks at it and asks her what it is. A few days later, Kyle heads to their territory to try out her proposed business, while Juliana spends her time disposing of all unnecessary items in the warehouses throughout the house, remaking the dress for the blue sky market, becoming a role model for her parents, and following a strict diet. About a month later, they ask her if she really wants to cut her hair, and she replies that she does because she wants to change herself. They also ask about her accessories, and she says she does not need any, plain dresses and shoes will be enough. They compliment her, saying she looks better every day and that her skin is glowing. Juliana thanks them, saying she is glad she can keep her makeup modest. She smiles, feeling excited that it is almost time for Kyle to return. In this country, with her jet black hair, distinct facial features, and stern look in her eyes, everyone is immediately taken aback. The maids begin to avoid her, and she wonders why it feels like they have been avoiding her more than before, even though she has just achieved her dietary goal. Her mother comments that she is getting prettier day by day, but Juliana thinks she still looks the same. Her father remarks that her beauty could outshine a goddess. Juliana thinks there it is again, those ridiculous comments that she cannot take seriously. He also says that if Prince Alfred saw her now, he would not be able to take his eyes off her. She blushes slightly, but shakes her head, telling herself no. She wonders if she just got excited, knowing that she did not lose weight just to attract his attention. She tells her parents to put these thoughts aside and begins a stretch that is popular in other countries, instructing them to bend their bodies forward slightly and curve their chests. As they do the exercises, Juliana thinks about her parents, knowing they are both healthy and financially well off. For the problems of the territory, she knows she has no choice but to leave them in Kyle's hands. If he manages it well, then the next step will be easier. Her father interrupts, saying that nevertheless, Juliana becomes more beautiful every day and that he looks forward to the tea party with Prince Alfred. Juliana is completely taken aback, feeling her chest hurt, her heart pounding just at the mention of his name. Her breath catches, and she feels dizzy. Her father freaks out and calls for Kyle to get the doctor, but her mother reminds him that Kyle is traveling in the territory and cannot be there. Juliana reassures them that they should not worry, and that the pain will go away. It is more like melancholy than anything serious. She decides that for now, she will let Sasha attend Prince Alfred's tea party in her place. She thinks about returning the position of the Crown Prince's fiancé back to Sasha. After a while, Sasha says she will get going, but Juliana knows it will be difficult for her to attend the tea party since she has yet to debut in high society. According to her parents' plan, Sasha will attend a smaller, close-armed tea party first to get accustomed. Truthfully, Juliana wants Sasha to meet Prince Alfred as soon as possible, but her parents insist that it is too early because they are very overprotective. Juliana knows Sasha has the personality and charm, but her beauty could make a man speechless at first glance. Juliana apologizes to Sasha, saying she is sorry for the short notice and thanks her for agreeing to act as the fiancé in her place. Sasha is at a loss for words and bows. Juliana thinks to herself that this is starting to make her nervous. Sasha and Juliana were very close when they were younger, but 10 years ago, everything changed between them. When they were informed that Sasha would be the crown prince's fiancé, their father became angry and explained that the engagement had originally been arranged for Juliana, but the person delivering the message told them it was the emperor's order, and there was nothing they could do. Juliana's figure and presence were not favored, while the emperor had taken a keen interest in Sasha's beauty, meaning that as the eldest daughter, Juliana would not be able to marry a man who could become the successor of their house. In that moment, Juliana felt a rush of anger and disbelief, letting go of Sasha's hand and yelling, demanding to know why it had to be her, when she had always been better in her studies and in physical training. Sasha twitches, startled and hurt, unable to respond, and from that day onward, they stopped seeing each other, leaving a gap between them that lasted for years. The position of crown prince's fiancé no longer mattered to Juliana. Protecting what remained of her pride, her dignity, and her place in the household became the most important thing, so she told Sasha firmly not to stand by her side anymore. Sasha, with tears welling up in her eyes, could do nothing but obey, standing silently as her older sister turned away. Juliana knows that she cannot repent for everything she did in the past, the harsh words, the cruelty, and the distance she created, but she is determined to do all she can to make amends and return what she took from Sasha, hoping they will all have patience and allow her to try to repair the damage little by little. About 30 minutes later, the ladies-in-waiting remind Sasha to keep herself together, telling her that they have already arrived at home and everything is ready. Juliana cannot believe that Sasha has returned so early, and she rushes down the stairs, so anxious to see her sister on the ground and asks what has happened to her. The ladies-in-waiting, seeing Juliana, do not recognize her at first and question how she can speak so casually to Sasha, asking who she is and why she is addressing the young lady so directly. Sasha, however, notices Juliana immediately and runs to her, wrapping her arms tightly around her older sister in relief. The ladies are completely taken aback, realizing it really is Lady Juliana, and they quickly apologize for misunderstanding her earlier, remarking on how beautiful she has become and then add that she was beautiful before as well, though now her presence feels completely different. They explain that while they had intended to attend the Commoners' Festival, they wanted to participate in the parade, and were supposed to see Lady Sasha there too. Juliana reassures Sasha that everything is fine and asks the ladies to explain exactly what happened. Observing how tightly Sasha clings to her, Juliana senses that something serious must have occurred and prepares herself to listen carefully. The ladies tell her that Miss Sasha was surrounded by a group of men at the party, and with everyone's eyes on her, she became nervous and fainted, unable to cope with the attention. Juliana cannot believe that Sasha fainted just from that, and she grabs her, demanding to know what that means and why she was left in such a vulnerable state. Sasha, sobbing quietly, admits that she feels useless and hopeless, adding that though she gained some confidence because Juliana had entrusted her with responsibilities, she is still terrified of men staring at her, and she feels completely unprepared to face situations like that alone. Juliana is shocked that men can frighten her sister so much, and she reminds Sasha that she is a lady, that one day she will become a wife, and that there will be men in the territories they will govern. She stresses that Sasha's fiancé is the future king, and asks how she plans to face such responsibilities and expectations if she remains so fearful. Sasha, overwhelmed, begins to cry and apologizes repeatedly as she runs away, only to bump into the head chef, Bert, who gently reassures her and prevents her from falling again, though she ends up fainting a second time from the shock. Juliana stands there, realizing that in her selfishness, she has put Sasha in an incredibly difficult situation, even though Sasha is struggling with her own issues just as she does. She resolves that she must try harder to repair their relationship and support her younger sister properly, acknowledging that she cannot undo the past but can influence the future. Later, Juliana gently tells Sha that Bert suggested she eat some sweets and cheer up, hoping it will lift her spirits. Sha protests, saying she was rude to him and feels ashamed, but Juliana admits that she herself became too upset earlier and is reflecting honestly on her own mistakes and behavior. Sha counters that it was actually her who cried and ran away, yet in that moment, both sisters begin to share an understanding, and Juliana feels a small but important step has been made toward repairing the bond that was broken all those years ago. Juliana gently tells Sasha that she will teach her a little trick to help calm her nerves, hoping it will make her sister feel more confident and at ease. She instructs Sasha to write the characters for person on her palm 3 times, explaining that it is a character from a faraway country. Sasha looks at her skeptically and asks what she means, and Juliana reassures her, saying it is a simple method that can help her control her heartbeat. She then tells Sasha to pretend to swallow the characters she wrote, and as Sasha follows her instructions, she notices a surprising effect. Her pulse seems to slow, her mind feels a little lighter, and the nervous fluttering in her chest fades. Juliana watches her with satisfaction, thinking to herself that she does not want Sasha to feel troubled and that she deserves to be happy, even in the smallest ways. She quietly reminds herself that this is just the beginning, that supporting her sister and helping her grow more confident is a responsibility she must take seriously after all the mistakes of the past. Several days later, Juliana finds herself walking down the long, ornate hallway of the royal palace, her shoes making soft echoes against the marble floors. She knows that, although she had hoped to avoid it this time, she ended up coming to the tea party herself, and she steels herself to behave properly. She also reminds herself that she should speak highly of Sasha in front of the maids and attendants, subtly showing her sister's qualities so that others will see her in a favorable light. As she rounds the corner, the heavy wooden door opens and an attendant steps inside. Juliana immediately recognizes him as the one who is always close to the prince, and she feels her curiosity spike. She wonders if this means the prince has arrived, but she quickly tells herself to act as she usually does, rude, sharp, and untouchable, asking pointedly, "Where is the prince?" Her tone carries the same impatience and arrogance she has used in the past, designed to mask the nervous flutter in her own chest. Then, a voice calmly responds, "He is here." Juliana freezes for a moment, slightly surprised, because she cannot believe the prince would actually be present already. Her eyes follow the man who steps into the room, and she notices at once his striking appearance, silver hair that seems to shine under the palace lights and deep green eyes that glimmer like emeralds, calm yet piercing. She realizes with a start that it is none other than Prince Alfred, standing there before her, and for a brief instant, her confident exterior falters as she takes in the aura of nobility and quiet authority that surrounds him. Juliana clenches her fists, her mind racing as she wonders why Prince Alfred is here today. She feels shocked because he has never come to any of the scheduled tea parties in the past 6 months, so why would he attend today? Her heart pounds as he calls out to her and steps closer, and she instantly worries that he might be here to break off their engagement. She knows she is not ready for that and she is not feeling well, but before she can speak, he suddenly gives her a side hug. She wonders if he has changed his mind or if he is just noticing her slimmer figure after all this time. She tries to call out to him, but he lifts her up completely, surprising her even more, and then he yells for George to call the royal physician immediately. He says that Juliana must be seriously ill, claiming she has become just a sack of chicken bones, and comments on how strange it is that she has lost the strong presence and intimidating aura that came with her size. Looking down at her, he admits that he is worried about her. Juliana forces a small smile and asks him to please put her down, feeling a mix of embarrassment and disbelief. She recalls how, before, she was hated for being fat and arrogant, even in front of Prince Alfred, but it has been 6 months since she last saw him, and this is too much. She struggles to get off, but he warns her not to move too much, insisting he will carry her. She insists she is fine and even mentions that they have already hired someone better than the royal physician with their finances, but he only remarks that she is still talking about money. She tells him again to put her down, but he refuses, and when she tries to say it, hurts and begs to be released, he does not listen. George notices the commotion and mutters that they are at it again, while the maids step in and plead with the crown prince to calm down, warning him that his superhuman strength could easily hurt Lady Juliana. She feels the pressure of his grip, knowing it hurts no matter how much he might hate her, and she is painfully aware that his physical abilities surpass even the knight's. She wonders what is going on because she came to the tea party with her fiancé, so why is it turning into a struggle? She realizes that trying to step down from being his fiancé is not going smoothly, and standing in front of this dazzlingly beautiful prince while looking fragile and weak makes her feel miserable. She thinks it is presumptuous even to consider whether she likes Prince Alfred or not, and she realizes that the only way she has ever been able to shorten the distance between them is by talking about money, so it is natural to assume he might have an affair like Kyle said, which makes her a little sad. Then, he smiles slightly and says he came because he wanted to tell her something. Juliana wonders again if he might break off the engagement, but she quickly reminds herself that he cannot do that yet, that he still needs to choose Sasha, not another girl from a different family. She tries to call out and reminds him that their family has faithfully served the royal family, but he looks shocked and asks if she is still going to talk about money. She realizes she has stepped on a landmine and did not mean to. He places his hand gently on her shoulder and reassures her, but before he can say more, the butler interrupts, explaining that there is an unexpected situation and they must leave immediately. He apologizes and tells Juliana that they will continue this conversation another time, and she breathes a sigh of relief, thinking she is saved. He warns her to be prepared for their next meeting and hurries off. Then as he's walking down the hallway, George calls out to him and states that he knows it's none of his business but he will say this as His Highness's childhood friend. Alfred tells him to hurry, asking what it is. George mentions that the way His Highness spoke earlier sounded like a notice of engagement cancellation. Alfred turns to ask what George means and clarifies that it was actually supposed to be a notice of proposal. He explains that he has been managing national affairs and working hard without visiting Juliana because he wanted to show her that she is more important than money, but since he is a prince borrowing from his fiancé's family, it is hard to make it convincing. Now he feels he finally has a chance to repay her, to become someone worthy enough to confess to Juliana, while she worries that she does not have time to fool around because there is so much to manage, from the donation to the royal family to the living expenses if the engagement is cancelled, and the next tea party is still 3 months away, leaving her with a lot to do and little time to prepare. Juliana steps into the house, feeling a mix of determination and worry, wondering what she should do first. She goes straight to Liz and asks if her dress has been repaired yet, knowing that there is not enough money or time to get a new one before the annulment. Liz tells her that Lord Kyle has just returned from the territory. Juliana's face brightens immediately, and she confirms with Liz that he really has returned. It has been 2 months since he left, and she is both excited and anxious to hear how the task she assigned him turned out. Without waiting any longer, she walks quickly to his door, knocks, and announces that she is coming in, confident that he must have done well. When Kyle opens the door, Juliana is shocked. He looks untidy, with his hair slightly messy, and he stares at her blankly, not recognizing her at all. He buttons his shirt slowly and asks sharply who she is, saying he thought he heard his elder sister's voice but is unsure if it is really her. She is taken aback, unable to believe that he is not recognizing that she is Julianne. He questions in a joking way if she is her elder sister or her friend. She wonders what is with that smile. He also says if she is lost then can he escort her. She wonders why he is acting like a gentleman. She responds that he's mistaken, that he steps near her and calls out to her as his lady, stating that there is no need to be shy. She wonders if he is acting like this on purpose, thinking if this is how he acts towards other women, it's embarrassing to see this side of him. She wishes for him to please stop. She shoves him and tells him it is her, reminding him that she lost weight. That he asks her what did she just say, questioning if this is magic, but then he also mentions his sister had poor taste in clothes and her hair were long too. He finds it impossible and falls onto her. His expression shifts slightly as he seems to realize that she looks different. Suddenly he collapses against her, and she gasps, noticing that he is burning up. She grips him, alarmed, as memories flash through her mind of their childhood when Kyle did not want to be adopted and clung desperately to his parents. She recalls telling him at that time that money was the only thing that mattered, and she feels a sudden sadness for both of them. Back in the present, Kyle opens his eyes and looks at her, still confused. Juliana asks if he is awake, and he murmurs in surprise, clearly struggling to understand that she is really his sister. She explains quickly that she heard he collapsed from overworking and insists she will call the doctor immediately. Kyle interrupts her sharply, his tone rude, saying there is no need for a doctor. He says it is just a fever and reminds her that there is a shortage of hospitals, and many people cannot afford to see a doctor. Juliana knows he is right, but she also knows that nothing changes the fact that he is sick and in front of her. He speaks curtly, calling her a money-loving woman, and Juliana flinches at his rudeness, realizing that even though she has changed, he still sees her as someone obsessed with money. He tells her to wait while he goes to get documents, but she grabs his shoulder and gently lays him back in bed, insisting that he rest first and that his health is far more important than any papers or money. Kyle is completely taken aback. He cannot believe that the sister he always knew, who cared only about money and cried alone, is now prioritizing him over everything else. At that moment, the attendant enters, announcing that the doctor is on the way, and Juliana thanks Jack warmly, happy that she can count on him. Liz brings fresh towels and the ingredients Juliana asked for, and she smiles with relief, feeling grateful and more at ease. Kyle watches silently, noticing that the servants no longer seem afraid of her and finds it unusual that she personally thanks them. Shasha steps in and offers to help take care of Kyle as well. Kyle wonders in disbelief what has happened while he was away and cannot imagine that Juliana might have truly changed. Juliana prepares a drink made from salt, sugar, and citrus juice and hands it to him, explaining that it will help him recover faster than plain water and reassuring him that she did not add any poison. Kyle nods and drinks it, and Juliana feels a small flicker of hope as she notices he seems slightly kinder to her today, though she shakes her head, telling herself she must be overthinking it because he still hates her. To her surprise, Kyle asks for more of the drink, commenting that it tastes better than he expected, and she quickly agrees to make it again. She is overjoyed that he asked for more and feels a warm happiness she has not experienced in a long time. Sitting beside him, she realizes how much she cherishes these moments, spending time with her family. In the royal palace, George tells the crown prince that he should just get rid of his pride, speaking very bluntly and without hesitation, and the crown prince, clearly irritated, responds that he is busy with important work and George should not disturb him with such advice. George insists that he cannot bear to see the prince look sad and urges him to propose quickly, but he also warns that Lady Julianne might reject him, noting that she has not been coming to the royal palace recently and has suddenly lost a lot of weight. He suggests that if the prince thinks carefully, it is possible that there is another man she might be interested in. The crown prince responds firmly that Julianne is not unfaithful and that he trusts her completely. George continues, saying that perhaps the reason she lost so much weight is that she has been sad from not seeing him, and he also mentions the rumors that she has been absent from parties recently. The crown prince pauses to think, questioning whether it is possible that she has become so dispirited that she stopped attending social events altogether. Meanwhile, at home, Julianne is feeling very happy and satisfied, noting that it is a huge success because Kyle's business has turned out so well. She tells Kyle that he did an amazing job, considering it is his first time starting a business and he has already made a significant profit. Kyle humbly responds that it was all thanks to her idea, explaining that this lottery business was something only she could have thought of and that at first he tried to sell it on a small scale, using the money collected to support public facilities. This idea caught everyone's attention because it was new and interesting, and people looked very intrigued. He admits that it was frustrating at times, but he is glad it worked out and thanks Julianne sincerely. She smiles and tells him that there is no need to thank her because he worked hard, but she feels surprised that Kyle actually thanked her and reflects that it must have been difficult for him to do so. She coughs lightly and asks if another problem might arise, and Kyle reassures her that he is aware of potential issues but explains that this will help with the lack of money needed to set up the medical clinic in their territory. For that reason, they have to persuade their materialistic parents. In the house, they are enjoying some time together as one of the many couple portraits hangs in the room. Julianne's mother comments that their performance was amazing, and her father mentions that while Sir Rojas makes preparations for the party, it would not be a bad idea to reserve theater groups from around the country. At that moment, Julianne knocks on the door, and her mother tells her she is just in time and should join them. Her mother is taken aback and notes that it is so rare to see her together with Kyle, asking if they had a quarrel again and reminding them not to fight. Julianne responds that they did not quarrel and asks how many years it has been since they last did something together like this. Kyle mentions that he has something important to discuss and that he wants to increase the number of medical facilities in their territory, but their father immediately rejects the idea, dismissing it as another one of the boring suggestions they always chatter about. Julianne silently urges Kyle to remain calm and follow their plan, reminding him that losing his temper will achieve nothing and that he should act according to what they planned and not let their parents' dismissiveness frustrate him. Her father insists that money should be used to buy interesting things and offers him some money to spend, still unaware of the seriousness of the matter, and Julianne thinks to herself that Kyle must endure this and that she cannot let her past frustration and anger influence the situation because she knows that trying to persuade her parents with normal methods will not work. She steps in and gently touches her father's hair, explaining that he does not fully understand and that this is a genuine new business opportunity. Her father questions what kind of new opportunity this could be, and Julianne tells Kyle to show him the business plan. Kyle presents the plan, explaining it is a recipe for hair growth using red wine, combined with a special set of exercises called radio gymnastics number 5. He examines it carefully, but Julianne eagerly takes the plan and explains that if they continue research on this, they could create a family brand using hair reutilization products, and if they open the Depulian beauty salon using these exercises and the changes in Julianne that helped her lose weight, their mother could become a charismatic and respected beauty. Her father asks her to hand the document to him, but Kyle refuses to let go. Julianne continues to explain that she is facing some difficulties and that beauty and hair care products will be the main selling point, but the medical system in their territory is poor compared to other regions, and if they do not improve it, they will be ridiculed by other nobles. Her father points out that improving medical care, including research, has already taken a long time, but Kyle reassures him that he has prepared a detailed plan to handle it. Her father remarks that they are still too young, but then notices how grown-up they both have become. Their mother also comments that this is the first time they are working together on such an important matter and that their determination is strong. He realizes that the children he once knew have grown into capable young adults. Julianne feels very glad that their plan is working. She then tells Kyle to try on a coat, which he had planned to wear later, and she encourages him to wear it now because their mother treasures this coat, as their father wore it when he was slim. Kyle wonders what suddenly got into both of his parents, but he smiles, knowing that his father entrusted him with the responsibility for medical facilities because he communicated his thoughts clearly. Julianne smiles and resolves to continue supporting Kyle as much as possible. At that moment, Sasha bursts in, running toward them with a frightened expression and warning that a scary person has arrived. Julianne immediately asks what is wrong, and Sasha hides behind Kyle, trembling and scared, and then His Highness enters, calling out to Julianne, and the room grows tense as everyone recognizes the importance of his arrival and the presence of the Crown Prince fills the space with authority and anticipation. The kingdom's Crown Prince, Prince Alfredo Redelwa, announces that he has come because there is something he must say, and Julianne feels her resolve harden at once. Until she can make her family truly happy, she refuses to let him annul their engagement and humiliate her in the process. Even so, she cannot believe he came all the way here in person, and she has to admit that he caught her completely off guard. For a brief moment, her thoughts scatter as she wonders what she should do now. She even considers letting him take his money and leave, ending everything cleanly and quickly, but she realizes almost immediately that such an approach will never work on someone like him. Kyle steps forward before she can say anything, forcing a polite smile as he greets the prince, remarking that it has been a long time and thanking him for always looking out for his elder sister. As soon as he finishes, he leans closer and whispers sharply to Julianne, asking what this means and reminding her that she said Alfred would not be allowed to come see her. Before she can respond, her attention is pulled away by Sasha, who looks visibly frightened. A sudden thought crosses Julianne's mind, and she reasons that if things have reached this point, perhaps she should take a gamble and recommend Sasha as a fiancé candidate instead. Quietly, she tells Kyle that she will leave Sasha in his care, thinking that Sasha needs to be prepared before being forced to deal with people like this. There is no time to hesitate, though, not while Alfred is still here, and Julianne knows she must secure an option for Sasha's future. She decides she should negotiate to have Sasha's position as his fiancé restored. Later, once they are seated together, a man arrives and places a large stack of books on the table, piling them up one after another. Startled, Julianne asks what they are, and Alfred answers casually that they are reports from the National Treasury. The weight of his words sinks in as she realizes he is talking about the country's finances, the very flow of its money, and she cannot understand why he would bring something like this out now. He begins to explain how to read the reports, but she cuts him off, saying she understands and that she has studied extensively. He pauses, then responds that he expected nothing less from her. Her eyes widen as she reads through the pages, one after another, her expression growing more incredulous by the second. It makes no sense. There is so much money recorded here, far more than she imagined possible, especially when this country was desperately poor not that long ago. It is not only the economic issues that are being resolved, new agricultural law and tariffs are being negotiated and policies for the future are being implemented. All of these are being directed by Prince Alfred alone. She breathes deeply, realizing it is an indirect way of him telling that he no longer needs financial support. She clears her throat and then with a sly smile, says that was wonderful. She thinks it will be a good thing for their house successor Kyle, if the donation is no longer required. Also, if they consider a future in which Sasha will be the crown princess, it would be better if the country is wealthy. It is not an exaggeration to say that their Sasha is the cutest in the world. Even without the power of money, it will be easy for her to take down Prince Alfred. But since she is a bit shy, she will have to set things up first. Alfred then says he's afraid the money that the royal family owes will need to be paid in parts. He will have them send her a receipt later. However, he has got some money in his personal pocket, so he thinks he will try to spend some on luxuries. She staggers back in shock and then leans forward, saying in a loud voice, luxuries. 10 years ago, the first thing he said when they met was that he had no need for luxury and money. No matter what she gave him, his response was weak. Even when she asked about things he might want, he wouldn't tell her. In these 10 years, Prince Alfred never once wished for anything. Now he looks at her, a little startled, and asks what's wrong. Did he say something weird? But she tells herself no, there's nothing weird. Money can change people. Since it is Prince Alfred, she knows he won't spend it all over the place like she did. For Sasha's sake, she feels she should at least warn him, so she tells him that it seems the economy of the capital has only just begun to improve and that she does not want him to be extravagant. Before she can say more, he suddenly reaches out and touches her forehead, looking at her with an odd expression as he asks if she is sure she did not catch a cold. He tells her calmly that she does not need to worry because he always thinks carefully before buying anything. Then he asks her what she thinks he should buy, and the question makes her hesitate at once. She wonders why he is asking her this at all. His Majesty's aide, George, standing quietly in the corner, observes that His Highness's words feel somewhat lacking, and he guesses that whenever Alfred is in front of her, he becomes strangely worked up and ends up acting like this. As she listens, she briefly wonders if Alfred wants her to give suggestions because she is known to be extravagant, yet she also thinks that there is no reason for him to force himself to waste money just to please anyone. At the same time, she cannot ignore the thought that even though he has not yet ascended the throne, he has achieved so much in just a single year. When she reflects on it, she realizes that Alfred's efforts and the amount of hard work he must have poured into everything are tremendous. No wonder he couldn't find time to meet her. After all, it was his chance to get rid of the ugly gold digger. She guesses Prince Alfred wants some kind of reward for his hard work. She blurts how about some delicacies. Around half a year ago, Prince Alfred's aide George had told Julianne that His Highness liked delicacies. Alfred looks genuinely shocked and says that he is not talking about something small like that, while George quietly tries to shrink into the background. Alfred clarifies he means something like a dress, or a necklace, or even a ring embedded with a large gemstone, saying that women always want things like that. His words take her by surprise. She thinks to herself that if she ever wants such things, she can simply buy them on her own, so why would Prince Alfred need to get a dress in the first place? For a brief moment, a sharp thought crosses her mind, wondering if it is meant for his rumored mistress, and her mood instantly sours. Clearly irritated, she snaps that even if he wants to buy something like that, why can he not just get it himself? He looks startled by her reaction and asks if she does not need a dress at all. She answers coolly that who knows, and if she ever needs dresses or jewels, she can purchase them herself. She then quickly starts listing reasons, saying that her household is rich in resources, that they can continue paying tribute to the royal family even in the future, and that money is not an issue for them. As if to push him further, she adds that she also has a cute little sister and asks if he would like her to introduce the girl to him next time. He is completely taken aback and blurts out what on earth she is talking about, then hastily backs down and says he understands and that they should go with sweets instead. She begins to agree, saying that is fine and that he should buy whatever he likes, but George suddenly starts coughing loudly to cut her off. He quickly smooths things over, saying that sweets sound good, and suggests that the two of them enjoy them together, adding that it would be a nice change of pace for Lady Julianne, who has been cooped up in the house for far too long. Alfred looks at her for a moment and asks if that is truly the case. She answers that, yes, she supposes she is interested in that as well. He smiles gently and says that he understands, and that in that case, they should eat together. For a brief instant, her heart seems to stop, and a strange tightness grips her chest. She cannot immediately understand what that feeling is. She rises quickly, as if to leave, but he calls out to her at once, saying that there is something he wants to talk about. Before he can continue, she suddenly speaks, telling him that today, while she was looking through his achievements, she thought they were genuinely impressive. She says that she truly believes he will become a splendid king one day. Even as she says it, she tells herself that it is nothing more than imagination, repeating the words in her mind until she almost convinces herself they are empty. After all, she has been his fiancée for 10 years, so it is only natural to feel a little lonely, nothing more than that. She reminds herself that her only task is to make her family happy until the day everything comes to an end. Fortune telling. There are definitely reasons to believe in it and reasons not to believe in it. The sign of today is Leo. Today will be a happy day for them, and their lucky item for today is a hot pink stuffed bear. She decides to let her draw blood in one go, but it is not like she believes in it. But she guesses she has no choice but to make something like that. She quite likes it. She puts on an eye mask, places the skeleton mouth carefully on the table, and prepares all her tools one by one. With everything set, the fortune-telling house officially opens. Jack looks around and exclaims that the atmosphere is amazing, saying the ambience feels perfect for this kind of place. She mutters under her breath that it still feels pointless when there is not a single customer in sight. She tugs at her hair in frustration, quietly asking herself why this is happening at all. Jack calmly explains that fortune-telling is meant for ordinary people, and because it is something unusual and unfamiliar, they are naturally cautious. She went to the open-air market with Jack. The other day she had an appointment for tasting delicacies with Prince Alfred, and when she returned home, Kyle was enraged for some reason. Sasha's condition continued to worsen and no visitors were accepted. But Julianne couldn't waste time being depressed, so she started a new business. The goods that everyone has been making were periodically sold by Jack and Liz when they went out, but since they got tired of it and sales fell, she wanted to create a unique store appearance to grab people's attention. She grows even more pessimistic, her shoulders slumping. Jack tries to reassure her, telling her that she knows it does not work like that, that these things take time, but before he can finish, a voice cuts through the air. Someone steps inside, their face hidden beneath a cloak, and asks cautiously whether she can read her fortune. She straightens at once and quickly welcomes her, apologizing for the mess with practiced politeness. She then asks her to begin by telling her what he can about himself. She replies that her name is Leona and that she is 17 years old. Julianne feels a spike of nervousness but keeps her expression composed. She reminds herself that she has dealt with countless people in high society, though speaking to someone from a background she does not know feels different. Still, being timid is not like her at all. Gathering herself, she speaks with sudden confidence and declares that it is clear she is troubled by love. Leona looks at her in visible surprise. Jack exclaims that it is amazing, saying she really was able to tell someone's fortune. Offended, she snaps at him to go wait outside. She thinks to herself that this is a very typical problem for a 17-year-old, and that she will have to rely on intuition for this reading. Then the girl murmurs that it is not her own love she is worried about. Instead, her older brother's fiancée seems to be a vulgar and wicked woman. She says she has been observing them from a distance, and that the woman is arrogant with a terrible reputation. Julianne flinches in shock that it sounds familiar, but she immediately tells herself it is not her, definitely not. Leona continues, explaining that her older brother does not even look at other women, and that recently there have been efforts to cover up his engagement. She admits she does not know whose side she should be on, and that is why she wants to know what is so special about that woman. Julianne thinks that she has not been given much information, making this difficult, but since it concerns a sibling, she wants to help. She leans closer and whispers that Leona actually wants to hear the answer directly from her older brother, doesn't she? She is worried about him but does not know how to express those feelings, perhaps because both of them are shy, and because her thoughts revolve entirely around her brother. Leona suddenly stands, gripping Julianne's hands, and asks how she understands her so well. Julianne smiles and replies that the constellations have been whispering to her, and that what she and her older brother truly need is communication. As Leona absorbs those words, Julianne thinks to herself that she also needs to talk to Kyle and Sasha when she returns home. She then hands over 2 handmade good fortune charms, placing them gently in Leona's hands. Leona stares at them in shock, seeing that they are hot pink bear dolls, bright and oddly comforting. Julianne explains that her wish to avoid a wicked woman is sewn into them using the alphabet of a distant country, and she tells Leona that all she needs to do is give the other bear to her brother. She smiles softly and says she hopes that Leona and her brother will grow closer. Leona smiles back, a warm and sincere smile, and thanks her from the heart. Soon after, Jack returns and tells Julianne that her time is almost up, politely asking her to pay the venue fee and return safely. Just before leaving, Leona turns back and asks what her name is. Julianne pauses, thinking that she wants a name filled with strength, a name that has nothing to do with sickness or injury, and she answers that her name is Gonzalez Gonzaliano, knowing this name will become part of her dark past. Meanwhile, Leona returns to her brother Alfred. He asks her if she is still wandering around the town, and she replies yes, saying she wants to engrave the town's scenery into her memory because next year she will be leaving for another country to become a bride. She then gives him the bear and says it is a charm she received at the marketplace, adding that she wants to give it to her older brother who will one day lead the kingdom she loves dearly. She hurriedly adds that it is meant to ward off wicked women and says she hopes he will have a happy wedding. Alfred notices her nervous tone and gently tells her not to worry, reassuring her that he would never choose someone who would disappoint her, and thanking her for her concern. Leona says it is nothing, feeling relieved after hearing his words, and adds that this is what the person who gave her the stuffed animal told her, that they have not been communicating enough. After she leaves, Alfred turns to George and calmly tells him to prepare the notepad, because he intends to write a letter to Julianne. Alfred, clinging to another woman, announces that starting today his engagement is annulled. The woman beside him speaks softly, saying she has been tormented by Julianne all this time. The crowd begins to shout, calling for the exile of the House of Jesser. Julianne tries to run toward her brother, but he pulls out his sword, shouting that they have lost the support of the royal family because of her, that all the other nobles are now their enemies, and that he will kill her with his own hands. Julianne jolts awake inside the carriage, her heart pounding wildly in her chest, realizing it was nothing but a nightmare, yet the fear still clings to her. She looks drained as she mutters that she is back. Liz welcomes her and asks how the fortune-telling went, but Julianne hurriedly tells her to be quiet as she climbs through the window, afraid of being caught. Liz reassures her that everything is fine, explaining that the Master and Sir Kyle are away on a mission, the Madam is busy with radio calisthenics, and Lady Sasha is staying in her room because she is feeling unwell. Julianne thinks that if she does not introduce Sasha to Alfred soon, not only will the engagement fail to be annulled but the nightmare she just saw, her family being destroyed and exiled, could actually come true. Even though she knows there is little point in worrying so much, she decides to check on Sasha anyway. She recalls that Sasha started feeling unwell after meeting Prince Alfred and feels uneasy, wondering if the encounter frightened her or left her with lingering fear. As Julianne approaches Sasha's room, she is surprised to see Sasha already standing by the door, looking far more energetic than expected. However, Sasha ignores her completely and starts walking away, leaving Julianne frozen in place as she wonders where Sasha is going. Is she sleepwalking? She starts following Sasha, but soon loses sight of her and finds herself at the entrance to the servants-only corridor. She feels a strange energy in the air, tense and uneasy. Suddenly, someone appears and calls out "Young Miss," making her flinch. It is the head chef, his expression sharp as he asks why she is here and whether she is alone. Julianne blurts out that it is just her and that he should calm down, but the chef, still shocked, replies that won't do. He explains that there has been a sneaky thief lately, and dried meat keeps disappearing. Julianne realizes that is why he is on high alert. She clears her throat and argues that the security is strict and the servants are well paid, so there is no way a thief could appear. Just then, a rustling sound comes from the kitchen, and both of them jump in alarm. Without hesitation, the chef dashes toward the sound, and in a blur of movement, he grabs the culprit and shouts about someone trying to ravage his food storage. To their absolute shock, it is Sasha, crouched and munching on raw meat. Sasha looks completely freaked out and blurts, "I'm sorry." In her panic, she bumps into the table behind her, sending a jar and glasses rattling before they topple over. The chef acts instantly, shielding her, though water from the jar splashes onto him instead. He quickly asks if she is okay, but as he realizes how close he is, he awkwardly steps back and apologizes. Sasha remains frozen in place, leaving him uncertain and worried. Julianne stands there, staring in disbelief, and finally blurts out, why is she stealing food? Is she feeling unwell? Sasha starts shivering, mumbling apologies again and again, which makes Julianne realize she accidentally raised her voice at her. She forces a gentle smile and says that her big sister isn't really mad or anything, she just wanted to hear the reason why Sasha sneaked into the storage room to eat. Julianne berates herself silently, calling herself an idiot for losing her temper, even though she knows Sasha's personality. Whenever she snapped at something in front of her parents, Kyle would just run away. When it was just the two of them, they would make a bigger ruckus. When it came to Sasha, she would get scared and wouldn't be able to speak at all. If she makes her cry before she does anything like meeting with Prince Alfred, what would she do? Suddenly, the head chef steps forward before things can escalate, carrying a tray with steaming cups and offering warm tea for the two of them. He says that if they are cold, they won't be able to talk properly, right? Then he adds that this is something new he has prepared and that he would like to hear their feedback. Julianne thinks to herself that, even though he does not want his girlish personality to be discovered, he is being careful and attentive towards Sasha, taking care of her quietly. The calming scent of the tea drifts to Sasha's nose, and he mentions that he used the herbs the young miss picked herself. Surprised, Sasha blurts out that her sister did that. Julianne replies yes, she gathered the herbs for the sake of making a diet tea, and thanks to it, she lost weight rather quickly. The head chef asks kindly if she has been exercising a lot. She replies earnestly that of course, if she decides to do something, she won't stop halfway. Sasha looks at her sister in awe, saying that she is truly amazing. Then her voice softens as she confesses that on the other hand, she was completely useless at their aunt's party. She was supposed to represent her sister and attend, but she fainted, causing trouble for the head chef as well. She continues, admitting that the other day she did not know the identity of her older sister's fiancé and acted rudely toward him out of fear. She was afraid of causing further trouble, so she hid herself in her room, feigning sickness, even though she was perfectly healthy. She murmurs another quiet sorry. Julianne bends down, pats her gently on the head, and places her other hand on Sasha's shoulder, reassuring her warmly that it is okay, even if she causes trouble, because her sister will not suddenly leave her side. Her chin quivers slightly as she softly admits that she still doesn't have much confidence with formal balls and tea parties, but she promises to try her best, one more time, as big sister's little sister. Julianne can only listen in stunned silence. From that day on, with Sasha's debut in high society as the ultimate goal, Julianne takes it upon herself to train her personally. She observes Sasha closely, wondering if there is a way to lessen her fear of strangers and help her move more naturally among the elite. Just as she contemplates strategies, Liz approaches and says that there is an important matter, a letter has arrived from the Crown Prince. As Alfred wrote the letter, he carefully inquired if she was doing well, whether she had been eating properly, and if she had been keeping up with her medical examinations. He added that, if it was not inconvenient for her, he hoped she would visit the royal palace, where they had prepared delicacies that were both nutritious and capable of helping her gain weight quickly. He emphasized that her physique was her greatest asset, and he looked forward to seeing her in person. Julianne stares at the letter, anger rising inside her, and mutters under her breath, wondering who in their right mind would go, but her parents are the ones insisting. She protests, claiming she is unwell, they claim it is lovesickness. At the palace, George pleads with the prince, urging him to ensure that today goes smoothly, reminding him that he has stayed up for 2 whole nights just to clear his schedule. Alfred apologizes for making him accompany him, but George waves him off, commenting that His Highness truly has ghost-like stamina. Alfred instructs him to take the day off, assuring him that he can handle preparing the delicacies on his own. George, however, cannot shake a sense of unease. He mutters that His Highness always pretends he can do anything, but he is hopeless when it comes to love. Alfred lets out a sigh, noting that he is only 19 and likely has never been in a proper relationship. George literally falls to the ground, stunned by the admission. The truth is more hidden than that. Alfred has no partner because he is overworked. Every day, young ladies who try to approach him are dismissed so efficiently that he earns the nickname gatekeeper in high society. His workload and his own standards make it nearly impossible for anyone to get close, and he alone is responsible for his unpopularity with the ladies. George, flustered and exasperated, storms out of the room, leaving His Highness to think that he needs to make George take a proper break, lest he lose his precious friend. At the same time, Alfred resolves that he will take this opportunity to communicate properly with Julianne. Meanwhile, Julianne finally arrives at the royal palace, only to find it already swarming with visitors. No one even seems to notice her presence. She wonders if these young women have been sent by their noble families, eager to see the palace now that the national treasury is being restored. The bustling crowd, the murmurs, and the eager glances make her feel small and unnoticed, and she has to remind herself why she comes. It makes sense why they think they have a chance, although it is impossible. Suddenly, someone grabs her, and she screams, sharp and startled, but a firm hand clamps over her mouth immediately. It is him. Prince Alfred. Shock freezes her in place, but he apologizes, low and controlled, for picking her up late today. George is absent, he explains, so handling the guests took longer than expected. The burden of duty hums in his voice, precise, unmatched, and unavoidable. He murmurs about the endless trouble of speaking with people, and then, with a brief glance toward her, he directs her to the back door. They must not be noticed. She wants to snap, wants to tell him to go on alone. She could handle being seen, but he only insists they move before the delicacies prepared for the day grow cold. She follows him, bent low, careful. What is she doing? She is still the crown prince's fiancée, so why are they sneaking into the palace? She wonders if Alfred likes strange delicacies or if this is some odd habit of his. No matter what he does or says, she refuses to back down. His hand reaches for her. Can she stand? He asks quietly. She shakes her head, refusing. He withdraws his hand, disappointment clear in his eyes, then says they have reached the back door. Can she run from there? She nods, a thrill stirring in her chest. Before he can say, ready, go, she bolts. Her heels click against the floor as she races down the corridor. He calls after her, teasing that he will win any race. She glimpses him passing her, confident and composed, yet she refuses to lose. Her heel cracks, and she stumbles into his arms. Flustered, she drops her gaze. He holds her steady, unbothered. She insists she can walk, but he does not listen. Sorry for always making you worry, he murmurs, a quiet admission that surprises her. Then, almost to himself, he says he must grow stronger. She freezes, noticing, for some reason, he seems down. Was it just her imagination? Before she can dwell on it, he brightens and gestures toward the table. Here are the delicacies he prepared for her. One is descending fish egg soup, the other is boiled golden larvae with the heart of a shark. She freezes again, utterly shocked. Her mind races. Can her stomach even handle this? He leans slightly forward, asking what is wrong, his tone calm, yet curious. Slowly, she takes a bite. The warmth spreads across her face, and she realizes with surprise, this is delicious. He smiles genuinely, eyes lighting up. He says he is glad, noting that just now she seemed to want to forget the matter of their engagement. She notices, for the first time, how truly happy he looks. Meanwhile, Amalia watches from the other room through the window. Behind her, Leona whispers that she believes she will listen to her brother's words. It does not mean she doubts her. She trusts Amalia, her best friend, her source of information. Amalia does reply, her gaze remains fixed on Julianne, unblinking. She is Amalia, the tiny bit clumsy and pure daughter of a duke. Her fiancé, Prince Alfred, handsome and gentlemanly, her ideal prince. Amalia snaps out of her fantasies when her father, Duke Laston, opens his arms wide and demands a welcoming hug. She frowns and tells him she is not a child anymore. He chuckles and replies that this is true, she is already an 18-year-old lady, and it is time to find her a suitable partner. Without hesitation, he pulls out a stack of pictures and insists she meet the men he has chosen for her. They all come from good families and are every bit as masculine and imposing as he is. Amalia's face hardens, and she shuts the door firmly while her father protests, trying to coax her to open it. Anger flares in her chest. She absolutely hates this. Her ideal is the complete opposite of these men. Hairy, macho types like her father are the last men she would consider. What she truly wants, what she dreams of, is a man with the perfect combination of background and appearance, Prince Alfred. Right now, Prince Alfred has no choice but to be engaged to Julianne for the sake of this country. There are rumors that they do not get along. Once the national treasury stabilizes, the girl will lose her usefulness. In other words, only she who shares top looks and family is fit to be his fiancée. That unworthy girl who has nothing but money. Their engagement will be broken any minute. A few months later, back in the present, Amalia spots the prince with an unfamiliar girl. He refuses to grant her an audience, and yet here he is, with that dull girl. Suddenly, an image of Julianne from when she was overweight flashes in her mind, and a jolt runs through her as she realizes they look so remarkably similar. Meanwhile, Julianne smiles politely at the prince and says she has thoroughly enjoyed the delicacies. She thinks about the countless unknown ingredients scattered across the world, and the thought stirs a desire to further develop their food culture. She wonders, too, how much of the local bee larvae have already been consumed. Since honey is one of their region's primary products, she resolves that she must keep an eye on it when she returns. She pauses, realizing he keeps staring at her, and asks if there is something on her face. He shakes his head, insisting that there is nothing, yet continues to watch her for a long moment. Then he adds, in a quiet tone, that it is surprising to see how happy she is to be there today. Her face flushes, and she feels a flutter in her chest, wondering why she is getting so excited over such a simple observation. He continues, noting that the last time they met, she seemed like she wanted to cry, and that he had been concerned about her then. She wonders, briefly, if he asked her to come today simply to cheer her up. No, that is impossible. She calls his name, asking if he had a good rest. Observing his slightly worn appearance, she wonders if he is tired. He freezes for a moment, but then reassures her that it is not a problem, though she does not know that he has gone 2 nights without sleep. She begins to rise, but he tells her to wait. She hesitates only briefly, then moves closer and begins rubbing his hair, causing even the maids to glance at them in surprise. As she massages, she explains that certain spots are good for falling asleep, while others are for relieving stiff shoulders, adding that it is not good to be so reckless even though his work is so busy. She looks him in the eyes and says that what she wants to convey is how much she enjoyed meeting him today. As a token of gratitude, she will help him with the massage. The real reason, however, is that she does not want him to know she feels shy. From the window, Amalia observes them, and the angle makes it appear as though they are kissing. She panics, thinking that Julianne is shameless to forcibly grab Prince Alfred's head like that before marriage. She grabs Leona and whispers that Julianne is a demoness rather than a mere troublemaker. Leona, however, states that no matter what she says, she will choose to believe her brother's words. It does not matter if Julianne is her dear friend, she cannot recommend her as a candidate for the crown princess. Amalia's mind races, realizing the situation is more urgent than she thought. She decides to start collecting information. If she must act, she will need someone close to Julianne, someone who holds resentment toward her, her stepbrother, Kyle Jesser. When she returns to her mansion, her mother is already waiting and asks how Prince Alfred's dinner party went. She replies that the food was delicious and then asks where Kyle is, noting that she always hears him scolding her when she returns from the royal palace. Her mother explains that Kyle went out, adding that he had been suddenly invited to a party at Laston's residence. The news shocks her. This is the residence of the rumored mistress of Prince Alfred. She asks her mother why he was invited. Her mother replies that there seemed to be a large gathering for the event. Then her mother asks, with genuine curiosity, what kind of wonderful conversations she and Prince Alfred had. But Julianne has already disappeared before she can answer. 10 years ago, when Julianne had been a candidate for the crown prince's fiancé, she had competed fiercely against the Laston family for the top spot. Even now, the Duchess of the Laston family must present herself to Marquis Jesser. Meanwhile, Kyle bows to the girls' group and thanks them for the invitation that day. As he introduces himself, Amalia is taken aback by his striking beauty. His gorgeous face gives off a lovely charm and his golden hair and purple eyes that are rare in this country are so attractive. He states this is the first time he has the pleasure of greeting her, isn't it? And she can't help but think even his voice is sweet and refined. Honestly, he is completely her type. Her face flushes red, and she gasps as he nears her. She forces herself out of her thoughts and greets him formally. She reminds herself that her goal is to observe and gather information on Julianne's weaknesses. That is why she must win over her stepbrother, Kyle. The hostility between the siblings is already a well-known tale. Kyle does not even glance at her in high society, and Julianne grows angry whenever his face and figure are complimented. If that arrogant Julianne never becomes crown princess, even after Kyle inherits their family's marquis title, the family assets could be at risk. That insecurity is exactly what she intends to exploit. If she secures the crown princess position, she can guarantee the family a stable future. Before she can formulate further thoughts, Kyle is surrounded by other girls, all gushing over his presence. She frowns in irritation, thinking that there is no way she can speak with him in this chaos. One girl remarks that Kyle is always kind and has a wonderful smile. Another adds that his fan club is said to be the second largest in the country. Even though she invited him under her father's name, the situation feels rushed, and she realizes she needs a clear plan. Kyle approaches her, noticing her tension. He asks if something is the matter, noting that she has been looking down for some time and asking if she is all right. He suggests that they get some fresh air outside. She is taken aback that he is the one to approach her first. As he takes her hand and guides her outside, whispers grow around them. Observers comment on the special attention Kyle is giving her, noting her beauty, intelligence, and royal connections. Some claim that even the prince takes time for her. When another voice suggests that it might be a rumor, someone else insists that it cannot be, citing countless eyewitnesses. Julianne entered the grounds of the Lastons' residence by carriage, but she cannot enter the venue without the written invitation. Even if she asks, she might be driven out instead. For a moment, she considers bribing the person in charge. But her enemies might increase if she starts doing that often. Julianne freezes as Amalia's voice reaches her ears, crisp and insistent. The girl addresses Kyle directly, stating that it seems he has already guessed the situation, so there is no need for pretense. She asks him plainly to lend his power, so she can secure the position of crown princess. Julianne's chest tightens. Her mind races with unease, imagining that her brother might be swayed by the family, his latent resentment against her a dangerous lever. Yet to her astonishment, Kyle shakes his head. He refuses. Amalia counters immediately, insisting he is wrong. She has come prepared with her argument. Kyle remains unmoved. His eyes lock on her, unwavering. He says she is mistaken. He will not allow a lady so lovely, so striking, to approach the prince. Then, without warning, he draws Amalia closer, his voice dropping, heavy with unspoken weight. Whenever he thinks of her, his heart grows unbearably heavy. Julianne recoils. Horror mingles with disbelief. What is he saying? Even Amalia seems unsettled. Her face warms, a faint flush creeps up her cheeks but she turns away quickly. Julianne mutters under her breath with biting irritation, what a shameless flirt. Despite it being their first meeting, Kyle continues, an almost teasing certainty in his voice. No, haven't they met in their dreams countless times already? Julianne watches from the corner, incredulous. This is no scene from some fantastical game heroine, it is real, yet feels just as audacious. Kyle's charm, his confident audacity, is unnerving, but she knows that Amalia's pride will not easily bend to fantasy-like lines. Then Amalia blurts, almost breathless, as expected. He is exactly her type. Julianne's thoughts race. What is happening? She wonders, flustered. Kyle is always pretentious when he is outside, but Amalia. She seems different today. She wonders what is her brother scheming as Amalia starts to say she cannot for her Prince Alfred, but Kyle cuts her off, grabbing her hands and saying, is it because she and Prince are in love with each other? Juliana's mouth falls as she wonders, what did he just ask so loudly? Amalia blurts no, she hasn't even got the chance to meet with him yet. Kyle remarks, his tone carrying casual curiosity, that the rumor going around high society must not be true. Amalia glares at him, unwavering. She states that she is devoted to Prince Alfred and that if he intends to support her as the crown princess, he is welcome to do so anytime. With that, she turns and leaves. Julianne appears beside her brother, eyes sharp. She tells him that he must have realized it is her. Kyle jumps, clearly startled, and asks why she is there. Julianne retorts it is supposed to be her line. He admits that he wants to hear the truth about the rumor directly from Amalia, but in the end, he has not been able to win her over. Julianne's mind sharpens, understanding immediately. She asks why he does that. He shrugs, defensively explaining that she has been acting oddly lately. He adds that the day he mentioned the baseless rumor, it is only because he wants to annoy her. His words falter, and an apology begins to escape his mouth, but she cuts him off. She tells him that he is an idiot and that there is nothing worth worrying about. She reminds him that he puts the family above all else, and even though he nearly lets himself be taken advantage of because of her, and even if he goes into enemy territory to curry favor, she asks what he would do if they feel betrayed and turn against him later. Kyle falls silent, absorbing her words. She allows herself a quiet sigh of relief, though she still needs him to stop worrying. He speaks quietly, obediently, acknowledging that he understands. Julianne blinks, surprised at the rare compliance, and says that they should go home. He points toward the waiting carriage, stating that it is over there. The sight unsettles her, though she cannot explain why. As they reach the carriage and he steps aside, he extends his hand with a gentlemanly grace. She hesitates for only a moment before taking it, slightly surprised. He glances back and remarks that he wonders how Prince Alfred has taken it and whether he is surprised by her sudden change. She says well he was a little bit and asks why he says nothing. If it is going well then it is fine. When Julianne sneaked into the party at Laston's residence, she received a bold declaration of war from Amalia. To sum it up, the affair is a false rumor. The only lady Amalia met at the royal palace was none other than her friend, the princess. Kyle says the rumor originated from the ladies aiming for Prince Alfred, and because Lady Amalia was the only one allowed entry, it led them to assume that she secretly met with the prince. However, this too is only something he heard from Lady Amalia followers. There's no definite proof. Julianne tells Kyle, he doesn't have to worry. She won't let the engagement be annulled. She won't let it be a bother to their family. He sighs, explaining that he is not talking about how it is a bother. She ruffles his hair lightly and remarks that she is grateful for the information, but instead of worrying about her, he should just do what he wants to do. Regarding the discord between her and Prince Alfred, she thinks that it is only a matter of time before she is superseded by the cunning Amalia. Still, her path forward will not change. She is determined to return the crown prince's position to Sasha without fail. Later, she gathers everyone and announces that today they will practice conversing with men, using the imitation tea party as a pretext. She turns to Sasha and asks if Sasha is ready. Sasha replies that she is ready, but Julianne immediately reassures her that she will manage, adding that it is natural to be nervous when facing so many people at once. Jack announces that he is going to leave his seat, but Julianne tells him that it is all right. She explains that her nervousness is simply because it is the first time she faces such a crowd. Then she looks at Kyle and asks why he has followed her. Kyle looks away, sarcastically murmuring he wonders why. Lately she seems so liberated that it makes him more worried than relieved. He does not understand fully, but he cannot leave her alone. Finally, he meets her gaze and snaps that as the next head of the family, he has the duty to manage the household. Julianne asks what he is snapping at her for. She reasons that it does not seem like a situation where she is in real danger, so she does not mind. She turns back to the task at hand and instructs them to converse as if she is conducting a formal marriage interview, following the prepared script. She hands the script to Sasha and encourages her, assuring her that she will be able to do it. She announces they should begin a ladies and gentlemen conversation and hands the other script to the head chef, who has agreed to play gentleman A. Everyone else will act as servants. Sasha blurts, "Nice to meet you," her voice slightly nervous. The head chef stammers for a moment, then replies calmly, "Nice to meet you," while thinking whether she will manage without stumbling. Kyle leans close and whispers, asking why she has suddenly taken an interest in Sasha. She whispers back that Sasha is practicing so she won't embarrass herself when the actual marriage interview comes. Following the script, the head chef asks Sasha to share her favorite food. She likes rare delicacies, she says. He smiles nervously. How unexpected. He also happens to love rare delicacies, he adds, while silently thinking, what, pray tell, is this line? None of them notice that this is an imaginary tea party, a rehearsal simulating Prince Alfred's presence. Julianne watches carefully, guiding Sasha as if the crown prince were truly there. To outdo the perfect Amalia, both in social status and appearance, she has no other choice but to make use of the rare information she has piled up. The crown prince's position only belongs to Sasha. Kyle asks her, doesn't she think the script is kind of strange? She asks what does he mean by strange? She won't be overwhelmed if her partner is a gourmet for rare delicacies. He insists, but it is too specific. She tells him it is fine, can use it to start a conversation, and then tells the head chef to go on. The head chef uncomfortably asks, well then, how about they eat larvae netsuke together? Kyle says as he thought it really is strange. She snaps. It is not strange. She is sure there are some gentlemen with unique tastes out there. He snaps back. Where in the country will she find a gentleman who will suddenly recommend larvae to a woman? That makes her quiet. And he glares at her, saying not to tell him that she secretly tried to get Sasha married to a man who does not have an ounce of delicacy. She insists that he is mistaken, even while admitting to herself that he is not entirely wrong. There is no way she can explain to Kyle that she intends to return her position as fiancée to Sasha, especially to him, who was adopted into the family because of that very engagement. She remarks that the tea tastes surprisingly good, attempting to steer the conversation away. Kyle responds that taste was never the issue to begin with. Unnoticed by them, Sasha's attention shifts in their direction. Her hands tremble as she tightens her grip on the paper, wondering if she is at fault for needing to stop them. Their exchanges are always fast, layered, and difficult to follow. Even if she were to interrupt, it would change nothing. That is how it has always been. Father relies on Kyle, mother laughs more when her sister is present, and Sasha's presence often feels like an intrusion rather than a bridge. Interfering would only make things worse. Then Kyle deliberately calls her name, drawing her focus back, as if urging her to listen properly. Remembering the head chef's instructions, she steadies herself and listens closely. She hears her sister say that her only wish is for Sasha to be happy, that nothing else matters to her. Kyle answers that he had simply suspected ulterior motives. In that moment, Sasha understands. None of this is her fault. Everything is being done for her sake. She moves forward without thinking, breaking into a hurried run toward them. Her steps falter, but before she can fall, Kyle reaches out and catches her. She smiles and says she must be hungry and she wants to drink tea together with everyone. Julianne freezes at the sight of that smile. It is bright, unguarded, and rare. She cannot remember the last time she saw Sasha smile like that. Jack and Liz then announce that the long-awaited tea time has begun, and the head chef moves in to serve everyone. Sasha laughs openly, her smile light and unrestrained. Seeing it, Julianne finds herself smiling as well. She says that she is truly glad. Kyle watches the scene in silence. A faint heat creeps up his face before he abruptly looks away, lifting a hand to cover it as if to deny what just happened. He tells himself that this is impossible. The story so far: one day she suddenly recovered memory of her previous life, and so she came to reflect on her evil deeds as Julian Jesser. To get drunk on luxuries and hated by her stepbrother, and her relationship with the prince who was forced to be her fiancé for money is awful. Awful due to her jealousy, and so she was feared by her sister. And so her goals are to fix the household finances and return the fiancé position to her sister. Her goal is to bring happiness back into Sasha and Kyle's lives. If her goals can be achieved, then she doesn't mind a broken engagement. She is even willing to accept the exile edict. Her mother panics, insisting that something must be happening to Julianne. Kyle hears the commotion and rushes over. He tells their mother to step back, then forcefully pushes the door open only to freeze on the spot. Julianne is upside down, balanced on her hands and feet. She lets out a startled scream when she sees Kyle, who screams in shock as well before straightening himself and asking what she is doing. She hurriedly explains that she is practicing a bridge pose. Then she looks at the door, still wide open, and points out that he has just broken it. Kyle exhales slowly, rubbing his face. He wonders what is wrong with him lately. He has been acting strange, and this is only more proof of it. His sister is a tough woman, there's no need to worry about her. She only looks frail because she has lost a lot of weight. At the event on that day must be his imagination. That's it. She reaches out and lightly touches his arm, asking if he is all right and whether it hurts. Kyle freezes again. His heartbeat surges without warning, loud enough that it unsettles him. He panics inwardly, unable to understand why his heart reacts like this, even as he tells her that she pushes herself too hard and needs to be more careful. At the same time, he keeps repeating to himself that it is nothing, just an illusion. He repeats it again and again, forcing the words to sink in until they begin to sound like the truth. Later, Julianne's gaze lands on a stack of portraits laid out nearby. She stiffens in shock and asks if these are Kyle's marriage candidates. Their mother confirms it, saying that he has avoided the matter for far too long by hiding behind his work, but that excuse will no longer be accepted. Julianne asks if all of the portraits were selected by him. Their mother replies that these are only a small portion of them. Kyle curses under his breath. There is no reason for his sisters to know about this. Well, some of these portraits are of ladies that he has never met before and live in faraway regions. If he tries to meet new people, he is sure he won't think about his sister as much anymore. As Kyle flips through a few of the portraits, their mother, Sasha, and Julianne all lean in to look as well. The moment he realizes Julianne is watching too, he stiffens and hurriedly pulls the pictures to his chest, hugging them protectively. Julianne's eyes light up with curiosity as she excitedly asks who he plans to choose. Kyle immediately snaps back that it has nothing to do with her. Their mother, completely unfazed, adds that it would be better to choose a girl with a big butt. Kyle tells them all to leave him alone. Despite that, Sasha reaches out and starts peeking at the portraits without his permission. Kyle clicks his tongue inwardly, thinking this is exactly why he hates women. Still, this is good. He can feel his senses returning to him. He reminds himself that he does not care about love or romance. That kind of thing is irrelevant to him. Their mother pulls out one portrait and insists he should choose this lady, saying she looks decent, by which she clearly means kind. Kyle mutters that he will choose someone who can stand up to their mother when he is not around, though he doubts such a woman exists even if he searched the entire country. Julianne steps in, saying their mother does not understand. To become a member of the Jesser family, which is constantly criticized and scrutinized, a woman needs extraordinary nerve. She adds that the lady in that portrait has had affairs with 5 different men, so choosing her would be a terrible idea. She explains that she attends even the most secluded tea parties specifically to collect information and blackmail if necessary. She mentions, almost casually, that she was labeled the noble society's courtesan at 8 years old, so she insists she will choose properly for him. Julianne continues, saying Kyle has a surprisingly vulnerable side. Because of that, it would be better for him to have someone who can immediately stop him if he is dragged into a dangerous conversation or situation. On top of that, once he takes over the family, they will both be overwhelmed with managing the region. It would be ideal if his future partner is someone capable of learning the work and supporting him properly. She also thinks she should be artfully persuasive in speech. A sense of virtue is a must. A sheltered lady without any ties to men is also preferable. He will be pressured if she comes from a higher-ranked family, so it has to be a marquis of a count house. Kyle's fans are also on the older side, so it would be good to choose someone 2 years older. And for appearance it is all about preference. Lastly, Kyle's deep care for their residents and his hard-working attitude, his overly strong sense of justice. She would like for a woman who understands all of his positive and negative attributes to be forever by his side. He grows uncharacteristically quiet before finally saying that he doesn't want a girl like that. Then, without warning, he snatches the portraits from her hands and snaps. Everyone really does just say whatever they want. He will decide this with his father, no one else. With that, he orders them out of the room. Julia tells him not to get so angry. They may have been a little overbearing earlier, she admits, but they only want him to be happy. Something in him breaks. He suddenly tells her that he hates her and slams the door in her face, leaving her frozen in shock on the other side. He returns to his work, convincing himself that he is someone who lives for it, someone who doesn't need anything else. But his mind betrays him, drifting back to her words, "They just want you to be happy." What the hell was that supposed to mean? Still, he knows one thing for certain, he has no intention of ruining her happiness. As he sorts through the papers on the table, a letter from the palace catches his eye, addressed to father. He reads it, and his expression shifts. They plan to refund the donated money. He stiffens. Wasn't the engagement to the crown prince built on those donations? Then, does his sister know? His thoughts spiral back to that moment, how she had avoided Prince Alfred, how distant she seemed. Was it possible she had already been told the engagement was broken? Had she been carrying this alone all this time? Protecting this family is his duty. And perhaps changing himself is part of that duty too. He goes to her again and apologizes for his earlier outburst. She looks at him quietly before saying that just now, the family has fallen into a crisis. He asks if something sudden has happened. Her voice lowers as she tells him to listen carefully. If he doesn't want to die with her, they need to return to their territories and make a lot of money. He tells her to calm down for a moment as she starts moving again, pacing anxiously, then asks what the hell happened. He says he'll think it through with her together, so he needs her to explain everything clearly. She closes her eyes and lets out a slow, weary sigh. The incident happened today, she begins. Just after they had left his room. Only a few hours ago, Julianne had been thinking that maybe she really had acted too thoughtlessly earlier. She had pushed too much, and it was nagging at her. And when Kyle had said he hated her so bluntly, straight to her face, it had hurt far more than she expected or wanted to admit. She had then approached Sasha, only to find out that she hadn't changed yet, still lingering in indecision. Julianne reminded her that she had a special dance lesson at this hour, hoping to focus her. Sasha admitted softly, a little hesitantly, that she was conflicted between the pink dress and the blue one. Julianne told her that it was only practice, that it did not really matter which one she chose. But Sasha, still a little flustered, added that the head chef would be her partner again for the dance practice. Right. When she thought about it, Julianne realized that Sasha hadn't just been unsure about which dress to pick, she hadn't really known which one to choose because of everything else happening in her mind. Sasha explained that the head chef hadn't arrived yet, even though he had said he would come as soon as his work was done. Then, almost like a sudden scene unfolding from nowhere, the hardship appeared. A man walked in wearing new clothes, dressed like a duke, and said he was apologizing for keeping them waiting. Julianne looked at him in disbelief, her mind struggling to reconcile what she was seeing, and asked, Who are you? He looked slightly offended and said it was him, adding that Melody was the one who had instructed him to come in formal attire. Julianne thought it must be a lie. This is the head chef. She wondered. He said he was sorry, but that he would have to return to the kitchen in an hour. Both of them looked toward Sasha, who had been hiding behind a curtain, her small face flushed pink. Julianne asked her what was wrong and gently dragged her forward, telling her not to worry, this really was the head chef. But the head chef quickly said not to force her, that it wasn't right to push her. Sasha was still afraid, hesitating for a moment, but she quickly said, her face turning even redder, that she was not afraid. He nodded slowly, then said that since Sasha was doing her best, he would do his best in the role of a gentleman. She let out a quiet sigh of relief, thinking thank God, she's only feeling nervous. Even though his outward appearance now looked like a nobleman, Julianne realized that his inner self hadn't really changed at all. He then bowed in front of her and said politely that it was a pleasure to meet her. His name was Bert. Rather than simply acting well, he managed to escort the stiff, nervous Sasha flawlessly, with every movement smooth and measured. Julianne couldn't help but wonder, why did he look like he was completely used to this? He then asked if he could put his hand on her back. When she nodded hesitantly, he did, quickly pulling her a little closer. She flinched instinctively, and he immediately apologized, saying he might have startled her. She shook her head, saying that it wasn't that she was surprised in that way. He began to step back, saying that it wasn't good to force her, but she quickly reached out, took his hand, and placed it back on her, saying softly that she was not being forced. It is because she liked him. They both froze in shock, and the impact of it was so overwhelming that she fainted, while Julianne sank to her knees, completely stunned and unable to move. Bert quickly pulled them both up, telling them to pull themselves together. She tells everything to Kyle and says so that is what happened. The consumption plan was thought under the premise that Sasha will be engaged to Prince Alfred. For their family who have made too many enemies in high society, they cannot let go of the connection to the royal family. Now, in order to keep the link between them, she has to refuse the donation refund offer, but their current assets are lacking. That is why they have to get back to their territory and make money quickly. Kyle asks her again, is it true that Sasha has fainted? She replies yes, she is currently resting in her room. Somehow Kyle is very calm right now. He asks she wanted to push Sasha to be the crown princess, right? He has read about the donation refund offer letter earlier. He thought that things were very weird before, but now everything has come into place. She notices he sounds angry as he inquires as to whether she was told that her engagement is off. She whispers softly that it's not yet. He suddenly moves with a flash of anger, and she panics, her mind racing, is this where it finally ends? Is she about to get stabbed to death? Freaking out, she forces herself to tell him not to worry, that to preserve their link with them, they should start a new business in their territory. But he doesn't listen. He grabs her hand firmly and starts dragging her forward. She tries to resist, warning him not to act rashly, that revenge will only bring destruction to its wielder. He frowns, clearly confused, and asks what she is even saying, his voice blurred with frustration. He says they don't need the royal family's backing to survive and that, with their own power, he will rebuild the marquisate. She doesn't have to carry the burden alone. She freezes in surprise. Was Kyle always this reliable? Her eyes dart to the account book, shock washing over her, as he explains that he has started some businesses without father's knowledge and has been saving money behind his back, preparing for the unexpected. She asks if it is fine to tell her. He plainly says she seems to be panicking badly and he also trusts her. He will go to their territory again next week. The Jesser's family tattered credibility, he will certainly rebuild it. She wonders if she misunderstood Kyle. She assumed that he would stab her because he holds grudges against her. Even though the truth is, Kyle has been acting with this family and their territory's future in mind. Sasha too. She thought that since she was afraid of her and so reserved, she won't tell her true feelings, so she never talked properly with her. But she should have asked her about what her true happiness is. In this case, it is no different from when she was her. If she truly wishes for her siblings' happiness, she has to gather strength as a one family. She tells Kyle that her head is clear now and asks if they can work on the territory's development plan together. She reassures him not to worry, she might be a woman, but she won't be a hindrance in the consort education curriculum. She has also learned the same things as the men have. He grabs her hand and tells her not to say things like that, insisting that they should go to the territory immediately. Their goal is to recover the region from the red numbers and gain independence from relying on the royal family's backing. She sends a letter to Prince Alfred, explaining that due to certain duties she will be returning to their family's territory and will not be able to come back for a while. George staggers back in shock as he reads the letter. What does this mean? He asks. Alfred replies that, from the words he's read, Julianne appears to be occupied with her duties. George frowns, incredulous. Why would she involve herself in the territory's affairs? And is he really okay with this? Alfred's gaze shifts to the newly arrived ring, and he mutters under his breath that Lady Julianne always has the worst timing. Her sudden weight loss had made the previous ring far too large, forcing His Highness to postpone the proposal. And now she's leaving for her territory without even considering his feelings. But when he meets George's eyes, he adds firmly that this is his own decision. He wants to see her expression of surprise, so if the timing is bad, he is the one responsible. Without another word, he picks up his cloak and announces that he has ordered every region along Julianne's route to strengthen their guards. George asks, and what about him? Where is he going? Alfred replies calmly he will follow after Julianne. The reason Julianne is going there is most likely money. The royal family pesters them too much about donations. The complaints from Jesser's citizens have even reached the royal family's ears. George calls after him, alarmed. What about tomorrow's assembly? He says he will return as soon as possible. In short, Jesser's territory is filled with people who think low of Julianne. In order to stay engaged to her, Julianne may be thrown into a dangerous situation. At least he has to confirm the situation there properly. When they arrive at the entrance of Jesser territory, the men halt at once, recognizing the coach as belonging to the Jesser family. Kyle steps forward and asks the injured man how his condition is. The man replies that it still needs time before he will be able to return to work at the mine. Jesser's family's wealth is due to the high amount of jewels and fuel materials mined from their territory's mine. But those resources won't be available forever. Lately, they began mining from a difficult area, which resulted in many injured workers. This territory has low medical development and low productivity for other areas. If the mine resources are depleted, then it is an end for them, and he refuses to let that happen. He tells them he has received permission from his father to proceed with the plan to build a medical facility. The man looks shocked, asking if that is true, thinking that stubborn man has agreed. He tells them it has been decided to hire some doctors from the capital, and they have also secured some medicine supply routes. In some areas where the conditions are met, there are already temporary medical facilities being built. The man blurts so the young lord is already making a move. He then asks young Lord Kyle is the only one overseeing the plan, correct? He replies yes, of course, and he will continue to inspect the territory. They find themselves thinking just what in the world has happened to the Gesser family. But then they notice there is a woman inside the carriage. She peeked from behind the curtain, watching worriedly over young Lord Kyle. She was beautiful. Could it be that she is his fiancée? No wonder they had so many guards. He is already 17, so it is not unusual for him to have a fiancée by now. Good for him, after all, he always carried the burden alone. They wonder what kind of person she is. They stand before the family's villa, and she remarks that the Jesser family never fails to ensure magnificence. Kyle replies that it is needlessly so. This villa is one of father's favorites, yet he has never used it even once. All it does is add to the maintenance costs. She murmurs in response, already deciding that she will not allow such waste to continue. She asks Kyle whether the experts have arrived. He confirms that they have, saying he brought both the architect and the doctor along. She calls out to Liz, asking her to help her change. She then announces her intention to renovate the villa into a hospital. Later, the architect remarks that the idea is remarkable. Compared to constructing a hospital from the ground up, converting the villa will shorten the process by months and significantly reduce costs. The doctor hesitates, then asks whether Lord Haggard would truly grant his permission for such a plan. She replies that her father currently has an interest in the medical field, though she keeps to herself the fact that his interest lies solely in hair growth research. She gives clear instructions, ordering them to first gather and remove all the useless items cluttering the rooms. After that, everything is to be thoroughly cleaned and sanitized. Once the work is done, the space feels entirely different, almost like a brand new room. Kyle watches from the side, more surprised than he expects himself to be. Rather, what truly shocks him is the realization that his sister is actually capable of cleaning like this. The thought barely forms before he smacks his own cheeks lightly, scolding himself for where his mind is drifting. What is he even thinking? Meanwhile, she stretches her arms wide, letting out a satisfied breath. The moment she leaves the capital, her body feels lighter, freer, as if an invisible weight has finally lifted from her shoulders. If she is truly able to develop their territory with her own hands, then she won't be afraid anymore, even if her engagement is eventually called off. That thought no longer terrifies her the way it once did. She tells herself firmly that this is only the beginning of the renovation, merely the first step of many. Later, as she moves through the villa, she notices unfamiliar figures gathered in the lobby. A man nearby says he will go and notify young Lord Kyle, politely asking the visitors to wait a moment. The people respond quickly, saying that if he is busy, then it is perfectly fine. They explain that they only came to deliver flowers in his stead. At that moment, she realizes who they are, the citizens she and Kyle had met earlier. A chill runs through her. If they were to find out that she is Julianne, she fears she might be stabbed on the spot. The thought makes her hesitate. But then she notices their tense expressions, their nervous glances, and it dawns on her that everyone here is anxious because of her. Wouldn't it be unfair of her to act like a coward now? She understands, suddenly and clearly, what she has been lacking all this time, the ability to truly listen to the citizens and face their concerns directly. Now that hiding is no longer the issue, she shouldn't allow her own thoughts to frighten her into retreating. Steeling herself, she steps forward and meets them head-on. She introduces herself as Julian. Their faces brighten instantly. Without hesitation, they offer her the flowers and congratulate her on her engagement. The warmth of their smiles catches her completely off guard, leaving her flustered and momentarily speechless. She thinks about how she technically became engaged 10 years ago, yet she never once expected the people to accept her like this, let alone celebrate her happiness. They are warm, sincere people who can genuinely rejoice in another's joy. Standing there, holding the flowers, she finally understands Kyle's feelings. She understands why he wants to protect them so fiercely. With renewed resolve, she tells them that from now on, she will support Kyle in his efforts to develop the territory. She suddenly bows deeply, the gesture so unexpected that it leaves everyone frozen in shock. A moment later, relief spreads through the group, softening their tense expressions. One of the men thinks that for someone of her standing to already care so much about them, she must be a truly humble, dignified, and reliable person. More than that, if she is someone chosen by young Lord Kyle himself, then she is someone they can place their trust in without hesitation. Moved by her sincerity, they bow in return, voices overlapping as they ask her to take care of them from now on. At that moment, Kyle appears, drawn by the unusual atmosphere. He asks if something is wrong, but his words trail off as he stops, watching her speak calmly with the gathered citizens. She explains to them that during the hospital renovation, accessibility will be a priority. They plan to install sturdy handrails along the stairs, designed to be easy to grip, and to use anti-slip materials on the ramps so walking will be safer and easier for everyone. As she speaks, she reflects inwardly that for now, she is only able to replicate what she remembers from the hospital she lived in during her previous life. Still, she is confident that she will continue improving it little by little as time goes on. She then asks them for their suggestions, genuinely wanting to hear their concerns and ideas. Before they can respond, Kyle shows up beside her and asks, confused, what his sister is doing. Everyone falls silent at once. She turns toward him, beaming brightly, and tells him that she has received flowers. One of the men quickly speaks up, calling her Lady Julianne. She confirms it with a small nod. Later she touches her face in embarrassment and admits that she feels truly ashamed to think that such a misunderstanding could have gone on for so long. No matter how anyone looks at it, it is clearly impossible for her to be Kyle's bride. The idea feels absurd now that she says it aloud. Kyle, however, responds that it isn't necessarily a bad thing. He points out that being able to speak with the citizens without prejudice is something rare and valuable. He adds that although everyone was surprised at first, they all said they were looking forward to the territory's development plan. This time, she blushes for a completely different reason. She tells him that it is all thanks to him. All this time, what she has done as Julianne has been to use money as a shield, hiding behind it and running away from direct confrontation. And the truth is, she has done so because she is afraid of being told that she is a failure, and afraid of getting hurt. But if she continues living like that, she knows she will never be able to change into a better person. She wants to be better. She decides that she will no longer run away. The next time she sees Prince Alfred, she will listen to him properly, without fear or avoidance. She doesn't know when she will be able to return to the capital, but no matter what awaits her there, whatever is thrown her way, she is ready to accept it. This time, she will face it head on. And that concludes the video today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want another part.